The INFJ awareness that changes everything. There is something about you. Something quiet. Something intense. Something hard to explain. You see things others miss. You feel things others ignore. And sometimes, it feels like too much. Like you are carrying a deeper awareness in a world that prefers to stay asleep. If you are an INFJ, this is not random. This is not confusion. This is awareness. And once you truly understand it, everything changes. The way you see people. The way you handle emotions. The way you move through life. Even the way you understand yourself. But here is the truth most people will never tell you. Being an INFJ is not just about being rare. It is about seeing reality differently. And that difference can either become your greatest strength or your deepest struggle. It depends on one thing: awareness. In this video, we will explore the INFJ awareness that changes everything. The awareness that brings clarity. The awareness that brings peace. And the awareness that finally makes you feel understood. The first realization: you are not like most people. You have always felt it. Even as a child. You think deeply. You question everything. You observe more than you speak. And you feel emotions, not just yours, but others too. This is one of the core INFJ traits. Deep emotional intelligence, high sensitivity, and powerful intuition. But here is where things get complicated. The world is not built for this. Most people live on the surface. Quick thoughts. Quick reactions. Quick conversations. But you go deeper. You look for meaning. You search for truth. You connect patterns others cannot even see. And because of this, you may have felt out of place. Like you don't belong. Like no one truly understands you. This feeling is very common for INFJs. And it is one of the most searched experiences tied to INFJ personality type, introverted intuition, and empath personality. But here is the awareness that changes everything. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are simply tuned to a different frequency. The INFJ mind, always searching for meaning. Your mind is never quiet, even when you are silent. You are thinking, analyzing, connecting dots. This is driven by your dominant function, introverted intuition. It works in the background. Always. It processes patterns. It predicts outcomes. It sees what is coming before others even notice. This is why INFJs often feel ahead of their time. You can sense shifts. In people. In energy. In situations. But this ability comes with a cost. Overthinking. Mental exhaustion. And sometimes, emotional burnout. You replay conversations. You analyze decisions. You wonder if you did the right thing. Or said the wrong thing. This is where many INFJs get stuck. Not because they are weak. But because they are too aware. Too aware of possibilities. Too aware of consequences. Too aware of how everything connects. But here is the shift. Awareness is not meant to trap you. It is meant to guide you. The emotional depth that few understand. You do not feel emotions lightly. You feel them deeply. Sometimes intensely. Sometimes overwhelmingly. This is because INFJs are natural empaths. You absorb energy. You sense moods. You understand people without them saying a word. This is powerful, but also dangerous. Because without boundaries, you lose yourself. You start carrying emotions that are not yours. You start fixing problems that are not yours. You start prioritizing others, at the cost of yourself. This is one of the biggest INFJ struggles. And one of the most searched topics in INFJ psychology and emotional intelligence discussions. But here is the awareness that changes everything. Not every emotion you feel belongs to you. Let that sink in. Not every sadness. Not every anxiety. Not every tension. Some of it is absorbed. And once you see this clearly, you begin to separate. You begin to protect your energy. You begin to choose what you carry. The INFJ paradox, craving connection, needing space. You want deep connection. Not small talk. Not surface-level interactions. You want real conversations. Meaningful bonds. Authentic relationships. This is part of the INFJ personality. You crave depth. But at the same time, you need space. Alone time. Silence. Distance from noise. This creates a paradox. You want people, but you also need to step away from them. And sometimes, people misunderstand this. They think you are distant, cold, uninterested. But in reality, you are recharging, processing, realigning. This is essential for INFJ mental health and emotional balance. Without it, you burn out. With it, you thrive. The awareness here is simple. Your need for space is not weakness. It is maintenance. Why INFJs feel misunderstood. This is one of the most common INFJ experiences. Feeling misunderstood. Even when surrounded by people. Even when in relationships. Why? Because you communicate on multiple levels. Words, energy, emotion, intuition. But most people only hear words. So when you express something deeper, it gets missed or misinterpreted. This creates frustration, disconnection, loneliness. But here is the awareness shift. Not everyone is meant to understand you fully. And that is okay. You do not need everyone to understand you. You only need the right people. The ones who see beyond the surface. The ones who listen, not just hear. The ones who feel, not just react. The turning point, when awareness becomes power. Everything changes when you stop fighting your nature. When you stop trying to be like everyone else. When you stop shrinking your depth. This is the turning point, where awareness becomes power. You begin to trust your intuition. You begin to set boundaries. You begin to protect your energy. You begin to embrace your uniqueness. And slowly, life starts to feel different, calmer, clearer, more aligned. This is where INFJs begin to thrive. Not by changing who they are, but by understanding who they are. The hidden strength of INFJ intuition. There is something almost invisible about your intuition. It does not shout. It does not force. It simply knows. This is what makes INFJs different. Your intuition is quiet, but precise. You can meet someone for the first time and feel something is off. You can walk into a room and sense the energy instantly. You can hear words, but understand the truth behind them. This is often described as INFJ intuition or introverted intuition in personality psychology. But it is more than a function. It is a way of seeing, a way of understanding reality beneath the surface. The problem is, you were probably taught to doubt it, to ignore it, to rely only on logic, only on proof, only on what can be explained. But your mind does not work that way. And when you ignore your intuition, you feel it. Something feels wrong. Something feels misaligned. This is your internal guidance system. And the awareness that changes everything is this. Your intuition is not guessing. It is processing at a deeper level. And when you learn to trust it, life becomes clearer. Decisions become easier. People become easier to understand. The INFJ tendency to overgive. You care deeply. Sometimes too deeply. You want people to feel safe, heard, understood. So you give your time, your energy, your attention, your emotional support. This is why INFJs are often called the most compassionate personality type. But there is a hidden danger here. Overgiving. You give without limits. You give without pause. You give even when you are exhausted. And slowly, you begin to feel drained, resentful, empty. This is one of the most common patterns in INFJ burnout and emotional exhaustion. But here is the awareness shift. Giving is not the problem. Losing yourself is. There is a difference. Healthy giving comes from fullness. Unhealthy giving comes from neglecting yourself. And many INFJs were never taught this. So they learn it the hard way. Through burnout. Through emotional fatigue. Through quiet frustration. But once you see it clearly, you start to change. You start to pause. You start to ask yourself one simple question. Do I have the energy for this? And if the answer is no, you allow yourself to step back. Without guilt. Without explanation. Boundaries, the skill that changes an INFJ's life. For many INFJs, boundaries feel uncomfortable. Even unnatural. You do not want to hurt people. You do not want to disappoint them. You do not want to create conflict. So you say yes. When you mean no. You stay. When you want to leave. You listen when you are already overwhelmed. This is where emotional boundaries become essential, because without them, you disappear. Slowly, quietly, but completely. And here is the truth. Boundaries are not rejection. They are protection. They protect your energy, your peace, your mental clarity, and most importantly, your identity. When INFJs begin to set boundaries, everything shifts. Relationships become healthier. Stress decreases. Self-respect increases. And something surprising happens. People start to respect you more, not less. Because you are no longer available at the cost of yourself. The INFJ door slam explained. There is a moment, a quiet moment, where something inside you changes. You have tried. You have been patient. You have given chances. You have explained. But nothing changed. And suddenly, you are done. Completely. This is often called the INFJ door slam. It is one of the most talked about INFJ behaviors. And one of the most misunderstood. To others, it looks sudden, cold, harsh. But for you, it was gradual. It built over time. Layer by layer. Disappointment by disappointment. Until there was nothing left. No energy. No connection. No reason to stay. The awareness here is important. The door slam is not your first response. It is your last. And while it can protect you, it can also isolate you. So the deeper awareness is this. Learn to communicate earlier. Set boundaries sooner. Speak before silence turns into distance. Because not every situation needs to end in a door slam. Some just need honesty. The search for purpose. INFJs are not satisfied with surface-level living. You want meaning, direction, purpose. You often ask questions like, why am I here? What am I meant to do? What truly matters? This is deeply connected to INFJ purpose and personal growth. You are driven by something internal, something bigger than routine. But this can also create pressure. You may feel lost, confused, like you have not found your path yet. And that feeling can be heavy. But here is the awareness that changes everything. Purpose is not something you find all at once. It is something you build. Slowly. Through small decisions. Through aligned actions. Through listening to yourself. Your purpose is not one big moment. It is a series of small, meaningful choices. And every time you choose alignment, you move closer to it. The INFJ and loneliness. Even when surrounded by people, you can feel alone. This is one of the deepest INFJ struggles. Because your need for connection is not casual. It is deep. You want to be seen. Fully. Understood. Without explanation. And that is rare. So sometimes, you withdraw. Not because you do not care. But because surface connection feels empty. This can lead to isolation. And emotional distance. But here is the awareness shift. Loneliness is not always about being alone. It is about being unseen. And the solution is not more people. It is the right people. Even one person who truly understands you can change everything. The strength in sensitivity. You may have been told you are too sensitive, too emotional, too intense. But sensitivity is not weakness. It is awareness. It allows you to notice details others miss. To feel empathy others cannot access. To understand emotions at a deeper level. This is why INFJs often excel in areas like psychology, counseling, creativity, and human connection. Your sensitivity is your strength, but only when it is balanced. Because without balance, it becomes overwhelming. With awareness, it becomes powerful. The path to inner peace. For INFJs, peace does not come from external success. It comes from internal alignment. When your actions match your values. When your environment supports your energy. When your relationships feel genuine. This is where calm begins. And the journey toward this is not fast. It is slow, intentional, reflective. You learn to say no. You learn to choose carefully. You learn to trust yourself. And over time, life becomes quieter. Not empty, but peaceful. The INFJ shadow side. There is a side of you you do not always show. A quieter side. A heavier side. The part that feels overwhelmed, drained, disconnected. This is your shadow. Every personality has one. And for INFJs, it often shows up in subtle ways. Overthinking becomes paralysis. Empathy becomes emotional overload. Idealism becomes disappointment. You expect depth, honesty, meaning, but the world does not always meet you there. And when it does not, you feel it deeply. This is where frustration begins. Not loud frustration, but quiet, internal, persistent. You may withdraw, shut down, lose motivation, not because you are weak, but because you are overwhelmed by what you see and feel. The awareness that changes everything is this. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is a signal that something is out of balance. And instead of ignoring it, you learn to listen. When idealism meets reality, you believe in what could be. In people, in relationships, in the future. You see potential everywhere. This is one of the most beautiful INFJ strengths. But it can also hurt. Because reality does not always match your vision. People fall short. Situations disappoint. Effort is not always returned. And slowly, you begin to feel disillusioned. This is a common experience tied to INFJ idealism and emotional burnout. You give your best. You expect sincerity. But when that is not met, it creates a quiet sadness. The awareness here is simple. See people as they are, not just as they could be. This does not mean losing hope. It means adding clarity. Because when you see clearly, you protect your energy, you choose wisely, and you avoid unnecessary pain. Emotional healing for INFJs. Healing looks different for you. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet, reflective, internal. You process deeply. You think. You feel. You replay. This is part of your emotional depth. But healing requires something more. Release. Letting go. Not every thought needs to stay. Not every emotion needs to be carried. Not every memory needs to be revisited. This is where many INFJs struggle. Because holding on feels like understanding. But sometimes, it is just prolonging pain. The awareness shift is this. You can understand something, and still let it go. You do not need to carry everything to honor it. And when you begin to release, you create space. Space for calm. Space for clarity. Space for something new. INFJs in relationships. Love is never simple for you. It is deep, intentional, meaningful. You do not fall easily. But when you do, you give everything. You listen. You support. You understand. Often without being asked. This makes INFJs incredible partners. But it also creates imbalance. Because not everyone loves the way you do. Not everyone notices the small things. Not everyone understands your depth. And this can lead to disappointment. Feeling unseen, unappreciated, or emotionally alone, even in a relationship. The awareness that changes everything is this. Love is not just about giving. It is also about receiving. You deserve effort. You deserve understanding. You deserve emotional presence. And when you begin to expect that, your relationships begin to change. The fear of being too much. There is a quiet fear many INFJs carry. The fear of being too much. Too emotional. Too deep. Too intense. So you adjust. You hold back. You simplify yourself to make others comfortable. But in doing this, you lose parts of yourself. And over time, that loss becomes heavy. The awareness shift is powerful. The right people will not see you as too much. They will see you as real. And the more you accept your depth, the more you attract people who value it. Career and purpose for INFJs. You are not built for meaningless work. You need purpose, impact, alignment. You want to feel that what you do matters. This is why many INFJs struggle in traditional environments. Repetitive tasks, lack of meaning, surface-level interactions. These drain you. But when you find the right path, everything changes. INFJs often thrive in careers connected to psychology, counseling, writing, creativity, coaching, human connection. Any space where depth is valued and meaning is present. The awareness here is simple. Success for you is not just external. It is internal. It is how you feel about what you do. And when that feeling is aligned, you do not just work. You grow, trusting yourself again. At some point, you stop trusting yourself. Maybe slowly, maybe without noticing. You started doubting your instincts, questioning your feelings, second-guessing your decisions. This happens to many INFJs, especially after being misunderstood or invalidated. But your clarity was never gone. It was just buried. Under noise, under doubt, under external opinions. The awareness that changes everything is this. You can trust yourself again. Your intuition is still there. Your understanding is still there. And when you reconnect with it, life becomes simpler. Not easier, but clearer. The final shift, becoming who you are. There is no moment where everything suddenly makes sense. No instant transformation. No perfect clarity. But there is a shift. A quiet shift. Where you stop resisting yourself. Where you stop trying to fit into spaces that do not understand you. Where you stop shrinking your depth. And start embracing it. Fully. This is where everything changes. Not outside, but inside. You become more grounded. More selective. More at peace. You still feel deeply. You still think deeply. But now, it no longer overwhelms you. It guides you. If you have made it this far, there is a reason. Something resonated. Something felt familiar. And that matters. Because being an INFJ is not about being rare. It is about being aware. Aware of yourself. Aware of others. Aware of the deeper layers of life. And that awareness, when understood, becomes your greatest strength, not your burden. So take your time. Trust your pace. Protect your energy. And most importantly, do not lose yourself trying to be understood by everyone. Because the moment you truly understand yourself, everything begins to change.